Okay, check, check, mic check. Beautiful. See you in a few minutes. Well, good morning for those of you in the States. Good afternoon for everyone else who might be watching. I know we've got quite a few viewers in Europe today. It is the Monaco Grand Prix, one of the most famous tracks in the world. We'll start with a qualifying session and then 39 laps here in Monte Carlo. Lewis Hamilton has said it's not really racing, but I have a feeling we'll see some fireworks today. Weather is random. Rain could really play a factor here. But first, a qualifying session. And it is rainy already. So they'll have to get their setups in now. The dry setups may not do it for them. They'll need one for the wet. But the big news today, Jenson Randall not driving. Logan Orn, Nicolo Falzaresi likely to be the favorites today. Lewis Marshall and the Red Bull going to be driving. And there will be quite a bit more room out there than we've seen in the past. Nicolo Falzaresi, the winner last year at Monaco. Max Mulder also on the podium. He'll be driving today. But we'll go on board. Vincenzo Torre through Beau Rivage here. Late apex on this turn to set up the turn here around Casino. Chooses to go over the bump there on the straight on the left side. Some drivers will veer to the right briefly. And then around the hotel hairpin. One of the slowest corners in the season. Before the famous tunnel at Monaco. A little bit of a moment there as Vincenzo Torre tries to get the tires up to speed. Braking point's going to change here in the wet. He is on slicks as well. Just going to cut through that famous chicane where you really want to cut that corner, but not quite that much. And then one of the most entertaining, for me at least, sectors in the game. The nice flowing walls around you as you try to avoid them. One last turn here, look for the cone, there it is. And then on the power. One of the few overtaking zones here, Saint-Devote. That's a lap from Vincenzo Torre. This is going to be one that will be up on the timing table for him. There you see that late apex there to set up the next turn into Casino. This time he'll go around the bump. Some rubber already laid down on the road there. Some tricky corners downhill. There you go. You want to pick up some of that curb to help with the rotation around the hairpin. Vincenzo Torre through the tunnel. Going to be some dry tarmac here. Hope those tires get up to temperature and then immediately going to be chilled again. As it's the Nouvelle Chicane. He'll get through that just fine. The fastest qualifying lap at Monaco, a 1:10 by Lewis Hamilton. I have a feeling, even in the rain, we might see some drivers challenge that. Certainly if it were drier, they would easily surpass it. Vincenzo Torre coming around, going to be a 1:21.2. And we'll see what the weather looks like, if it's going to dry out. At the very least, Vincenzo's got one with some slicks. Alexei Koivuniemi, a 1:20 flat. Robin Hertzschothagen, you saw there briefly, did cut that corner. It was not all four tires off track, so technically that was completely valid within track limits. He's going to dip into the pits. Dion Stahl comes around the last turn, and he'll put a time up on the table. It's going to be a 1:21.9. Lewis Marshall, reserve driver on the season in the Red Bull. Brit coming around one of the most challenging turns I think we'll see all season. Kind of loses it there a little bit. That's turn 17. Pardon my American English, I believe that's Raskas. But a 120, slightly better than Alexei Koivuniemi's to put him at provisional pole. As soon as I say that, Koivuniemi beats him by nearly half a second, 119.6. Nicolo Falzaresi here trying to put a time up on the board. He's going to have a little bit of traffic in front and behind him. We'll see how it affects him coming into Nouvelle. Does well there over the sausage curb, one of the few in the game that you're perfectly happy to go over. One last chicane, again gonna cut it, he does. Then a little too early on the turn in, I think, for Falzaresi. That's gonna subtract maybe a couple tenths, but it's still gonna be a blistering time here for him. I think it's gonna be enough for pole. Yes, indeed, 118.349. Danish driver Jamie Jägerström in the Williams. He'll come around down Casino here. There you go, avoiding that little hump. And into the hotel hairpin with a Red Bull in front of him. Max Mulder showing the intermediates might be the choice. Taking pole the first time we've seen up there on intermediate tires. Now Jägerström really hitting some traffic. Come around the pool. Just two more turns for him. And Alexei Koivuniemi, so they're disqualified from section for going the wrong way. As Jamie Jägerström on the slicks, 117.6, so no clear advantage between the soft compound and the intermediates so far. It's gone kind of back and forth. And who knows what happened with Koivuniemi there. Not something we've seen in the season yet. But Logan Oren coming around Casino. And in to Mirabeau here and the hotel hairpin. He stays on more of the tarmac than our other drivers have been. The American driver looking to qualify well. Qualifying so important at Monaco. Overtaking difficult to come by. And with no Jensen Randall in the race, Oren and Falzaresi are going to be looking to pounce, climb up the points standings. You can tell he is just at about the limits of the grips there on those softs, but keeping it together. I've got him in the 118 range, maybe. 118.5. So an improvement for Oren, but not one on the timing table. Currently P5. And Tim Bentinck out on the intermediates. Saw what Max Mulder could do, the Alpine teammates. He and Noah Smith, the only two drivers to have no time up currently. Bentinck, it looks like maybe a 119, 119.2. Noah Smith also on the intermediates. No pools of water visible yet on the tarmac. Usually when you see the pools, that's when it's time to switch to the wets. Nice angle there of Noah Smith entering the pool section. Loses it a little bit, and then another bit of understeer. Keeps it together nicely. Such a difficult braking zone. Coming into turn 17, Raskas there. And he is showing the drift skills out there. Noah Smith did put a time good enough for P6 by half a second over Tim Bentinck. So Vincenzo Torre switched to the intermediates. That 120 that we have on the table, that was with the soft compound. Max Mulder currently the fastest time on the intermediate tires with the 118.2. So we'll see what Vincenzo Torre can do in the Mercedes. Late apex there coming into Casino. And then difficult braking area going downhill in wet conditions, and then the hairpin. I have a feeling we're going to see some wing damage during the race right there at that hairpin, especially if it's in the rain. Through the tunnels of Monte Carlo. And coming into the Nouvelle chicane. Clean there for Torre. The pool will be the last sector. He's got an 0.8 improvement, nearly 0.9. Potentially shooting him up to P7 if he maintains that pace. It's Nicolo Falzaresi on the soft compound, the 117.2. Vincenzo Torre does improve by 2 positions, 118.9. Well done for him. So driver preference really seems to be the difference between the intermediates and the softs right now, as Vincenzo Torre has nearly a second improvement switching to intermediates, while Nicolo Falzaresi on the soft compound clears pole by nearly half a second. And speaking of driver preference, Max Mulder clearly preferring the intermediates. He's out there again. And you see that oversteer, losing the back end. Still improves. So a little bit farther clear of Logan Oren. I suspect Logan is waiting until he can get the last lap in, perhaps. But right now it is Nicolo Falzaresi, Jamie Jägerström, and Sandro Dulis. Alexei Koivuniemi had at one point provisional pole. I believe his time would have put him at about P5 between Max Mulder and Logan Oren. Not sure about the disqualification from qualifying for him. Go to the McLaren of Robin Herdstadhagen. He would need a pretty significant improvement, over a second, to move up into the points ahead of Dion Stahl. Nice and cautious in the hairpin. Don't blame him. It's hard to tell if the conditions are worsening out there. We have seen some drivers continue to go out there on the slick compounds. Into Nouvelle. Cuts it in around the wall on the exit. Nicely done. Then in dry conditions, this is one of my favorite sectors. see if Herschel-Hagen can keep it cool around Raskas. Maybe a little bit wide there. But I think it will be an improvement on the timing board for him. Maybe a 120 or so. 121 flat. 6 tenths improvement. Keeps him a little bit more clear of even Brito. As I say that, even Brito improves significantly, going up to P9. But unfortunately, I'm not sure. He goes into the runoff by Sandoval. And hopefully the Haas there. That was Noah Smith. You hope that one wasn't a hot lap for him. The ERS flashing. I'm guessing he just finished a qualifying attempt. Logan Oren back out on the slicks. Improvement in Sector 1. Into Casino, he's got a 10th. Mirabeau now. And he does have a couple drivers in front of him he'll have to be on the lookout for. Making way there is the Red Bull. And through the tunnel now. Coming up on Nouvelle. As he enters the pool, we'll see if he's continuing to improve the time. He'll need 4 tenths to catch Max Mulder. And wow, he gained 8 tenths in Sector 2 over his own PB. A purple Sector 2 for Logan Oren. The rain appears to be slowing down. But this potentially could put Logan Oren at P3. 1:17.4. Over a second improvement. He's on the first row. So well done for Logan Oren. Falzaresi provisional pole. It looks to be a lock for him. Maybe just trying to dial it in as he sets a purple Sector 2 for himself. Also on the slicks, so it must be drying up a little bit out there, or just track evolution through the faster parts of the Monaco track. And he breaks that 1:17 barrier. It's a 1:16.9 for Nicolo Falzaresi. And I mentioned 2 of the drivers looking to take advantage of Jensen Randall not driving this week. Nicolo Falzaresi, Logan Oren. They will start on the first row at a track where it is difficult to overtake. And perhaps just as important for them, they'll be ahead of the chaos that you tend to see in the first laps of a race in Monte Carlo. So qualifying complete. Everyone going to finish the laps they're currently on. Vincenzo Torre. He's coming around on the slicks. As it says, Logan Oren disqualified from session. Vincenzo Torre does improve, but boy oh boy. The disqualifications here really throwing a kink into what would have been quite an interesting start. First Koivuniemi, now Oren. So it appears they'll start at the back of the pack. And the first few rows have been just really affected by these penalties that are happening when we're not watching. But as it stands, Nicolo Falzaresi and Noah Smith in the first row. Jamie Egerstrom, Sandro Dulis in the second. The driver on board with now Vincenzo Torre starting in 6th. That might be his best qualifying session of the season. And you see there a sprinkling of both soft compound and intermediates through qualifying. So my impression is the starting grid, as we saw it, will be the one that we're going to go with. Alexei Koivuniemi and Logan Ornd will be starting at the back of the pack due to qualifying penalties. Nicolo Falzaresi, Noah Smith starting in the front row. And barring any sort of pit strategy error like we saw with Fernando Alonso earlier in the F1 season, I suspect those two will be the favorites. All right, it is formation lap time. As we will check for the tires, medium compound for all except Noah Smith, Robin Herstadhagen, Alexei Koivuniemi. Always interesting to see who's on what strategy. If there is any sort of VSC in this race or just safety car, we've seen the hard compound runners get a little caught out as it's difficult to run on a longer session when we've got some yellow flags and safety cars to work around. Logan Ornd and Alexei Koivuniemi, two swift drivers in the back. They have quite a bit of work cut out for them. We hope to get through Sandoval here. As you see, all the odds. Great shot there. We finished through the pool section. Come around Rascasse here. Drivers getting information here in Monte Carlo, 39 laps around one of the most famous tracks in the world, part of the Triple Crown of motorsports. On board with the Italian driver Nicolo Falzaresi. We'll wait for the lights. Here we go. The lights are coming up. And there they are. We are off with Nicolo Falzaresi. It is the Monaco Grand Prix SRL round 11 coming into Saint-Devat. So far, so good. Everyone in single file for the most part through Beau Rivage here. We are full speed coming around Casino. We'll go a little bit farther in the pack. Here with Lewis Marshall in the Red Bull. A little bit of smoke there, like perhaps a bit of a lockup around the hairpin. And there's a bit of wing damage. The Alpine of Max Mulder into the back of Sandro Dulis. And Koivuniemi taking it nice and slow on the hard compound, waiting to get up to speed through the tunnel here. A little snap there for Lewis Marshall. And Tim Ventink right on the diffuser of Vincenzo Torre. Brave through Nouvelle to be that close. The McLaren of Robin Hertzstadthagen, it looks like holding up Logan Orend and Alexei Koivuniemi slightly. They're going to be looking to get around him as quickly as they can, if they can. Through Rascasse here. And a moment to breathe here through the straight as they get back into Saint-Devote, one lap down without any issues. Back up at the top of the grid, Jamie Jägerström. He and Nicola Falzaresi a second and a half clear of Noah Smith, who's gone with the hard compound tire. And for the most part, it is what Monaco is infamously referred to. It is just a train of cars here. Even mistakes, it's hard to punish. Jägerström through Nouvelle. I assume that corner will be taken more aggressively as the tires get up to temperature. And he and Nicola Falzaresi now 2 seconds clear of Noah Smith. The tire strategy working out for these two. I'm sure they'll be thanking Smith. A nice little blockade with the white-rimmed tires back there. A 1:12.3 for Jägerström. And it's the Alpine of Tim Ventink, who's had the smallest number there on the interval table. He has been within 0.2 of Lewis Marshall, essentially since the lights went out. And he tries to go for it on Casino. He's going to get it done. A little bit of a lockup, and you saw the snap there coming through Casino, but Tim Ventink, I believe that's going to be the first overtake we see as he gets through the hotel hairpin. And it's his teammate Max Mulder now in front of him. Elsewhere, Logan Orend, he's past Robin Hertzstadthagen. He's looking to get the move done here. Nick Van Gelder, and not sure what happened there. I think the way the cars were jumping around, maybe a lag spike. It wasn't pretty, but Logan Orend does get it done. 3 seconds for him to Dion Stahl. Vincenzo Torre and Lewis Marshall into Saint-Devote. A little bit wide for Lewis Marshall. Vincenzo Torre going to take advantage, an easy pass through Beau Rivage. So well done for Vincenzo Torre, looking for some points today. That sour apple helmet, that looks new for him. Around the hotel. Noah Smith has started to close the gap a little bit on Jägerström. And he's got perhaps the most clean air in front and behind him in the field right now, with exception to Alexei Koivuniemi, who seems to have made an early pit stop onto the medium compound tires. Maybe some wing damage we missed and a repair done. The Ferrari of Sandro Dulis in the background there through Beau Rivage. Things starting to settle here. You see the smallest gap here with the Portuguese driver, even Brito, and Lewis Marshall. That Red Bull seems to be struggling. Not sure if it's a setup issue. You typically want high wings with all these slow corners here. But Lewis Marshall, it just feels as though drivers are able to get around that Red Bull without too much distress here. A little bit of a straight through the tunnel. We'll see if even Brito wants to make any moves. It can be tricky into Nouvelle here, as we saw with Logan Orand earlier. But if those are lockups for Lewis Marshall and not just the game playing tricks on us like it can do, those tires are not going to last long. Now Dion Stahl has caught up. So quite a few cars bunched up together. The straight through the start finish, the only DRS zone here in Monte Carlo through Saint-Devote. You saw there even Brito taking a look around Lewis Marshall. But just so hard to get an overtake done here. And a little bit of a moment there. Sandro Dulis and Logan Orand going to get around even Brito. And just like that, even Brito goes outside the points. And he is losing more time here through the tunnel. The exit compromised coming out of Mirabeau. Sandro Dulis there, abandoning Nouvelle. And it hasn't been artwork for Logan Orand, but it has been a very workmanlike climb from the back of the pack up to P9 now. So we'll see what he can do here against Lewis Marshall coming into Saint-Devote. He certainly has the pace. Such a tight circuit here, the street circuit of Monaco. And Logan Orand really just kind of imposing his way, and the wheels get caught up on each other. It's going to be a safety car. Logan Orand going into the hotel hairpin. And unfortunately, the wheels just get caught up with Lewis Marshall. Lewis Marshall goes straight into the wall. So we will have a safety car, something we did not have last year at the SRL race in Monaco. And how will that affect the grid here? Well, Nicolo Falzaresi, Jägerstrom immediately going into the pits. Noah Smith staying out. He does have the hard compound. So Noah Smith, it appears, wants to make this a one stop. I don't know if it's the right move, but it's at least a move that's going to give him a chance. If he pits there, he's still behind Nicolo Falzaresi and Jägerstrom. But with this, if he can plan for another safety car, you have to think he'll have a very good shot at staying in the lead. We are only about 20% of the way through the race. Still lots of time left. Sandro Dulis also staying out on the mediums. Noah Smith a little stylish into Nouvelle under safety car. Perhaps wasn't expecting the safety car to be right there. And Logan Orand also staying out. Staying out gets him up to P5 from the back of the pack. So for Dulis, Medium compound, 7 laps old. I believe those tires will be falling off in a few more laps. And if you're Noah Smith, you're completely okay with that. You're fine if someone is kind of holding up the traffic behind you. He expects his hard compound tires to last him for quite a bit more time, I imagine. And it's also a fortunate safety car for Alexei Koivuniemi. He did make a pit stop earlier, had him about 30 seconds behind. But with this, he'll be able to get fresh tires and catch back up to the group. Probably at least one more lap of the safety car after this one. You see on the mini-map the McLaren of Robin Hertzstadthagen just going into Casino now. And just through Sandoval is the Aston Martin of Alexei Koivuniemi. So we start lap 10 under safety car. Still 3 cars to catch up. And if this is the only safety car, it'll still be about 10% of the race under conditions. There you see the location of the incident that caused the safety car, the entry to the hairpin. Koivuniemi coming around and out of Mirabeau. But still far enough back, I think we'll have one more lap with the safety car. So much for what I might know. The safety car coming in this lap as Koivuniemi able to catch up. Coming into the pool section. So Logan Ornd will, excuse me, Noah Smith, the other Haas, will restart us. And we are racing again in Monte Carlo. Tim Ventink going into the pits at this point, not sure what happened, but a little bit of looseness there for Noah Smith. So you got Sandro Dulis, the 2 drivers in the top half of the grid who chose not to pit on the safety car. And we'll see, are the tires up to temperature here coming into the hairpin? You see, maybe not quite there for Noah Smith, but the top 4 drivers getting through cleanly, no issue. And now through the tunnel. Nicola Falzaresi right on the rear wing of Sandro Dulis, and Jägerström right on his tail. And a lot of trust on in the driver in front of you to have a similar braking point to yours, I'm sure. Let's come around Rascasse here. Looks clean for everyone on that end. Around the pylon, and through the straight here. Noah Smith already a second on Sandro Dulis. Near the back of the pack, Alexei Koivuniemi getting around Robin Hertzoghagen into Saint Devat. So he'll have a tire advantage over the cars in front of him for the next few laps. We'll see what he can get done. He is a second and a half behind Nick Van Gelder in the Red Bull. But a second and a half here can be deceptive, as it seems like they're only just in front of you. Through the hairpin, and he's already gained half a second on Van Gelder. Will he get it done in the tunnel? It's going to put Van Gelder under some pressure here, I think, at the very least. He's going to try and make the overtake on Nouvelle, but not quite. Seems to have a better exit, but it's just so hard to get anything done. As we come into the pool, one more chicane. So P11 currently for Koivuniemi. We'll keep an eye on the table to see what he can get done. Is he going to try and Saint Devat here? Around Beaurivage. Okay, quick and easy. Another one for Koivuniemi. 5 more seconds to even Brito. On board with Nicolo Falzaresi, who had been leading during the safety car, went into the pits. Noah Smith and Sandro Dulis in front of him, opting not to pit at that time. Nicely done through Nouvelle for him. Going to have much more grip than Sandro Dulis in front of him at this point, as he is right on the tail of Dulis. DRS enabled this lap. We'll have it coming out of Rascasse here. Dulis does not have DRS from Noah Smith, who's been able to just really pull away, as we mentioned earlier. The tires of Dulis probably starting to fall off, allowing Noah Smith to continue to increase the gap unimpeded. Falzaresi looking to get the move done, trying to put Dulis under pressure. You see there almost no room between all 5 cars coming around the hairpin. And we'll see if Falzaresi is able to make any moves in the tunnel. We don't usually see it, but we've seen drivers at least take a look. On board with Falzaresi. Coming into the pool. See there, he's definitely got the grip on those quick sections here at the tail end of a lap around Monaco. I'll have DRS here, but just so difficult to get any overtakes done. Dulis kind of goes defensive there, really takes a line that is going to keep Falzaresi to the outside if he wants to try and do anything. As Noah Smith continues to pull away, 2.5 seconds now. Dion Stahl has, you see the red Ferrari back there, he has caught up to this pack, battling for P3 and P2. So good drives from Vincenzo Torre, Dion Stahl, even Brito so far. And it's really at this point just waiting for a mistake. Maybe hoping someone gets a little too aggressive on the back half of a lap. Those tires start to rub against the walls. They lose a bit more life in the tires. These drivers are all pacey enough that outside of the hairpin where we've seen a couple moves made, it's not going to be easy. Koivuniemi here has been the driver making the most moves since the restart, as Max Mulder comes out on the soft compound. He's got some clear air in front of him, so wouldn't be surprised to see a fastest lap set by Max Mulder. Koivuniemi, the Portuguese driver, even Brito in his sights in the Mercedes there. As they come into Raskas. I would say for any corner cutting, those can be reviewed. Max Mulder does indeed put in the fastest lap on the softs, 1:11.9. Sandro Dulis able to get around Nicolo Falzaresi for P2. Briefly, they had swapped positions. Provisionally, a time penalty for Nicolo Falzaresi that can be reviewed and removed by stewards after the race. 3.4 seconds clear is Noah Smith in front. So it certainly feels like it's his race at this point. He's got the pit strategy that he can go with. Stayed out there, a good move with hindsight. He does not need to push those tires at all. Should be a relatively easy one stop for him, barring another safety car. But there you see in just one shot down Beau Rivage, easy to see 4 cars, sometimes 5 cars. Dulis all the way down to Vincenzo Torre. And there you see what 3.5 seconds at the Monaco Grand Prix can look like. Despite being almost 4 seconds ahead, Noah Smith briefly visible there around the hairpin. We'll key in on Jägerström here. Same strategy as Nicolo Falzaresi and Vincenzo Torre on the other side of Logan Oren behind them. Logan Oren 17 laps with the medium tire now. So keep an eye on the gap between Jägerström and Oren, as we'll see what those big differences between the tire strategies will do. A pit stop for Oren at this point would be pretty devastating in terms of position. But he is going to have to come in at some point. He's going to extend as far as he can, I think, hoping for another safety car. But things have settled here, with the exception of Koivuniemi, who's been making some overtakes. Nothing at this point strikes you as a looming event, just something just inevitably going to happen. Logan Oren at least looking a bit squirrely through Nouvelle there, but again, I think sometimes it's just a bit of latency in the lobby. We were following Jägerström. I didn't see anything that stuck out there unless it was contact with the wall. But at least for now, assigned a time penalty. So if you race in a league, especially in this one, save a screenshot of the race director at the end so it can be reviewed. Noah Smith's interval to Dulis there in P2, consistently around 3.4 now. But the two of them, I'm sure, going to be looking to pit in the next few laps. 19 laps now, lap 20 for them both on the current set. Through the tunnel on board the Danish driver Gjersrum. See Oren behind him in their side view mirrors. The Alfa Romeo of Nicolo Falzaresi in front of him. Or is it the Stake F1 team? A bit smaller of a field of drivers today, so no Visa Cash App RB cars in. As Gjersrum starts to fall out of DRS range. Of course, DRS only through the start-finish straight. So he's got time on this lap to get back within a second of Nicolo Falzaresi. But starting to slowly lose time to Falzaresi. And with Dulis starting to lose grip in those medium compound tires, I think the gap to Noah Smith in the lead starting to increase. Logan Oren, again, I think there's just something about the lobby itself and Logan Oren through Nouvelle, but it looks like an adventure every time following him. Catch up to Falzaresi as Gjersrum starts to lose a little bit of time behind him, but Falzaresi, I think, will be our race leader here in just a few laps. Dulis and Noah Smith going to have to pit at some point. And Falzaresi just right on the end of Dulis. May even have had to back off there coming into Casino. There you saw Noah Smith leaving Mirabeau, but that's what 4 seconds looks like. Through Nouvelle. Production making sure we see all the yachts. Tim Bentinck. Not sure what happened, but how about this for a safety car? Was it in time for Noah Smith? It was just barely in time for Noah Smith. And instead, it's Falzaresi and Gjersrum staying out. And boy, Logan Oren also the beneficiary of that safety car. Vincenzo Torre will stay out. Even Brito now with a decision to make. He comes in. And so does Alexei Koivuniemi. So about as good a safety car as could be managed for Logan Oren, but he goes to the soft compound, so does Koivuniemi. We'll have a couple laps at least of the safety car, but I think they're looking at 14, perhaps 15 laps on those. So they'll have all sorts of grip compared to Sano Dulis, who just fitted on a fresh set of hards. But the real chess match is going to be Falzaresi, Gjersrum, and Torre. Everyone has made the required number of pit stops So no one needs to pit again. But the question for those at the top, can your hard tires conceivably do 30 laps here at Monaco? To check the onboards in the highlights to be released on the YouTube channel for SRL later this week to get a sense of what happened to Tim Bentinck in the Alpine. We did catch during this broadcast what happened to Lewis Marshall in the Red Bull. So still about 40 seconds for Robin Hertzschadhagen to catch up to the safety car queue. So probably one more lap after this one. Of course, I was wrong last time, but Hertzschadhagen only just getting to Beau Rivage now as we're in the tunnel here with the front of the train. And I'm only just now noticing Dulis came out of the pit ahead of Noah Smith. So depending on how you feel about the pit strategies, you could consider Dulis to be provisional leader at this point. It is fully manual pit entry and exit this season in SRL. So Sandro Dulis, as we go through turn 1 of lap 25, on the table in P4, but I think we could consider provisional leader here. But we'll see. We'll see what Falzaresi, Jägerström, and Torre can do on the hard compound. And the threat of another safety car, of course, means Falzaresi could very easily stay out in front, depending on how everybody else wants to take their strategy on a third safety car, should it come. Safety car should be in this lap. Everyone is caught up to the queue. We'll be back to full speed racing on lap 26. Keep an eye on the Haas of Logan Oren and the Aston Martin of Alexei Koivuniemi. They're going to be on the fastest tires out there. They had initially qualified very well, but ultimately penalties during qualifying put them at the back of the pack. Safety car in. Will be on board with Nicolo Falzaresi getting ready for the restart. He will decide when we get back to that point around the pylon in the last turn. And he's full speed racing again. It is lap 26, just about to get underway here at Monaco. Nicolo Falzaresi, Jägerström, Torre opting not to pit on the last safety car. 18-lap-old hard compound tires for them. We'll see what they can do. Everybody else, for the most part, on fresher tires. Kind of go back a little bit to see what happens here with Logan Oren, especially. I'm curious. He's got Dion Stahl in his sights, but it is, as you can see, nice and crowded going around the hairpin here. Through the tunnel, he's going to have all sorts of grip. but all sorts of traffic as well. Go back up towards the top. Those with the fresher tires catching up to Vincenzo Torre. Jägerström a second behind Nicolo Falzaresi. So Falzaresi, Jägerström pulling away from the big pack behind them, but you see here Vincenzo Torre, just all sorts of pressure behind him. Duali's right on the diffuser of the Mercedes. Falzaresi and Jägerström going to be loving this as they pull away from all of this. Maybe slight contact there, but this is what Monaco is known for. Sometimes you can tell that you would have the speed, you just can't find the room. And just as Noah Smith had earlier, Falzaresi now over 2 seconds clear of P2. It's going to be really tight here into Nouvelle. You saw there in the background the Alpine and Max Mulder cutting through the chicane. And Robin Hertzschothagen, a VSC, just about to enter the pool section. So it'll be a VSC. Jägerström takes that opportunity to pit. Just like the last safety car, the notification comes up right as the race leaders are coming out on Rascasse, and it's a quick reaction to duck into the pits at that point. So Jägerström going to the soft compound. He'll be P9, but it's as painless a pit stop as I think you can get. The time loss would have been much higher if he had done it at racing speed. And meanwhile, Vincenzo Torre really holding things up. You see nearly 6 seconds here for Falzaresi on the VSC. And we're racing again, and what a gift Vincenzo Torre has given Nicolo Falzaresi. Nearly 5 seconds. Clear is Falzaresi. And the Italian driver has to be a favorite now. Of course, he'll need to pit, but with an extra 5 seconds granted to him by Vincenzo Torre in P2, he is much better situated than he would otherwise be. Sandro Dulis, you can almost sense the frustration just getting stuck behind the Mercedes here. Especially coming into Mirabeau, we've seen him just almost bump drafting Vincenzo Torre the last few laps. Desperate to get around the Mercedes. As the lead balloons to nearly 7 seconds for Nicolo Falzaresi. Defensive line there through Nouvelle for Torre. Dulis trying to get it done. Noah Smith also sticking a nose in. We're too wide coming out of Nouvelle, and Sandro Dulis on the bad end of it. As he goes to P4, Noah Smith now going to be the one trying to get around this rolling blockade. 8 seconds clear for Nicolo Falzaresi. He's already through Saint-Devat. And there it is going outside. It's Noah Smith, maybe squeezed a little bit. Dulis also getting through. Jägerström on the softs, 1:11.2. So Dulis finally able to get around Torre. Logan Ornd also able to get around. But Max Mulder, it looks like in Nouvelle, an incident. Nicolo Falzaresi about to come through. Will we be able to see anything? Nothing visible there. We continue racing. On board with Logan Ornd, soft compounds. Teammate Noah Smith in P2 starting to decrease that time to Nicolo Falzaresi. Dulis in front of him. So Logan will have DRS by staying within a second of Sander Dulis in P3. Dulis, I think by the time he was through detection, will not have DRS. So now, just like Vincenzo Torre was feeling the heat from Dulis, I think Logan Ornd will be the one applying it to Dulis himself. We're on lap 31, 9 laps to go here at Monaco. 2 safety cars and a VSC. This man, Logan Ornd, disqualified from qualifying along with Alexei Koivuniemi, currently in P6. And at this point, if you finish the race, you will finish in the points. So for someone like Jägerström, who just set the fastest lap, that's an extra point. That could be huge. No Jensen Randall, so everyone will gain a bit on Jensen Randall in the standings. And fortunately for Noah Smith, that once 8-second gap now just 4.6 to Nicolo Falzaresi, but for all we know, Nico was taking it easy up there, trying to extend the hard compound tires even longer. Can he take them to the end? He needs 8 more laps. Through the hairpin. We've seen a lot of contact here. Logan Ornd getting through, avoiding that curb. Some drivers relying on that curb for extra rotation, some avoiding it, so as to not have any oversteer. And now, the man who was once just in front of Dulis and Logan Ornd, Vincenzo Torre, under pressure from Jägerström at Nouvelle, quite a ways back from Dulis and Ornd. But the 24-lap-old tires for Torre seemingly giving him fits, and as a result giving Jägerström fits here, as it's now his turn to try and get around the Mercedes. Through Rascasse. Torre not coming into the pits, so Jägerström going to have to get it done here. He will have DRS. Can he get in and around before Saint-Devat? And as the story frequently goes, he's not able to, but going to try and make a move through Beau Rivage, I'm sure. And Jägerström, he will need to get around Vincenzo Torre as soon as he's able. Easier said than done. Significant tire advantage for both him and Koivuniemi behind. Perhaps through the tunnel. Just briefly took a look, did Jägerström. And he goes for it. I don't think he cut that corner. I think all 4 tires did not leave the track surface, but still can't get it done. Vincenzo Torre remaining in front. But we'll go back up to the top of the grid because Noah Smith has really cut down that gap. Just a few laps ago, 8 seconds between these two, now down to 1.4. We'll keep an eye on that, but Noah Smith still behind Dulis, still pressuring Dulis coming into Mirabeau. It It is tires of the same age, soft versus hard. But the nature of the track at Monte Carlo is that matters a lot less than track position. As we get to the halfway point of lap 34. 5.5 laps to go here. And for Logan Oren, how many more laps will he have the advantage over Dulis before the hards have the advantage? Vincenzo Torre, something happening in Nouvelle. And what that means, Jägerström and Koivuniemi, of course, no longer have to deal with trying to make their way around Torre. Noah Smith here now, under pressure from Dulis, who's feeling the pressure himself from Logan Oren. Another battle that Nicolo Falzaresi will be happy to see happening behind him, as he's 27 lap old tires. At this point, he has to take them to the end. There's no way to pit now from the lead position and find any way back, even to the podium. You see the ERS flashing for Noah Smith. He's got no advantage. Stop flashing now, so a little bit more, but that only means he's probably in the teens on battery charge. Won't have DRS here. He must have deployed as he starts flashing again to stay ahead of Dulis. Lap 36, Nicolo Falzaresi 2.7 seconds ahead of Noah Smith. A little bit wide there coming into Casino for Noah Smith. Dulis going to try and pounce on it. Just not enough room. Slight lock up there, it looked like, for Noah Smith in the rear. Dulis trying to find every bit of space he can, but it's just not there. Less than 2/10 for Dulis. Looks like he tried to look inside coming into Nouvelle. It's a risky move. As we're now down to the last 3.5 laps. Nicolo Falzaresi, 3-second lead. He's been able to avoid a lot of traffic. Vincenzo Torre on the restart gave him quite a buffer to P3 and P4. Even with the aged tires, he's been able to really extend the life of those. He hasn't had to drive too hard, and 3 seconds and a few overtakes might just be too much with only 2.5 laps to go here at Monaco. And a sight we've seen for about 10 laps in a row now. A driver desperate to make the pass coming into the hotel hairpin and just being stuck. Once more into Nouvelle. And it looks like for these three, perhaps content with their positions. It's really just waiting for the driver in front of you to make a mistake. Good recoveries from Logan Oren and Koivuniemi so far, starting at the back of the qualifying session. But it sure does seem like this is Nicolo Falzaresi's race. 2 laps to go, penultimate lap here. The only complication for Falzaresi at this point, some back markers in front of him. We don't often see blue flags in SRL, but The Mercedes and Red Bulls in front of him likely seeing some flashing blue here. And it's really here, Noah Smith, Dulis, and Oren, the closest gaps still to go. As Nico begins to start lap 39, we'll go on board with him for a bit. A little bit of a wall clank for Noah Smith. But he doesn't need his tires to get too much farther, so that damage shouldn't be too much of an issue. A little bit of oversteer from Dulis there. Now Noah Smith going to have a bit more breathing room. So Noah Smith pretty well clear here in P2. Dulis in P3, I think at this point has tire advantage over Logan Oren. There you see the race leader just going out of Mirabeau. That's Nicolo Falzaresi. And Jamie Ayrstrom coming into frame there at the end in P5. So it's Nicolo Falzaresi, the Italian driver, in the Alfa Romeo here. 3 seconds clear. He has taken these hard compound tires very, very far. They're just about to cross the line for the 32nd time. He comes around Rascasse, and it'll be another win for Nicolo Falzaresi. All sorts of points gained on Jenson Randall in the point standings. Nicolo Falzaresi, your race winner here at Monaco. In P2, it looks like it's Sandro Dulis. Logan Oren jumps ahead of Noah Smith, I believe due to some timing penalties, but the stewards can, of course, review that. Jägerström P5. Koivuniemi coming around Rascasse. He will cross at P6. Good recovery from him. Starting at the back of the pack after a disqualification during qualifying. Dion Stahl, Ivan Brito, Nick Van Gelder also going to finish the race here today at Monaco. Everyone in the points. Not a lot of room out there. You see quite a few drivers grayed out in the timing table. But it's Nicolo Falzaresi, yet another win here at SRL. And Dulis, I believe that's going to be his best finish of the season in P2 if that sticks. So well done for Nicolo Falzaresi. As chat will often say, Forza Nico. That is it for the Monaco Grand Prix. And I think Alonso and Hamilton, not wrong when they say it's not quite the racing that you're used to seeing, but a good race for Nicolo. Started on pole, didn't lead every lap, but good race strategy, able to finish at the top of the podium. Good race also for Noah Smith. Excuse me, that was Logan Oren, but Noah Smith, again, that 3-second penalty. Save your race director screens, gentlemen. But provisionally your podium. Falzaresi, Dulis, Logan Oren, and the fastest lap to Jamie Jägerström. An extra point for him. That'll do it for round 11 of SRL here at Monaco. Join us next week, Saturday, for round 12. That'll be the Canadian Grand Prix. If you watched another sim racing league, then you might know there can be carnage there as well. Thank you for joining us. My name is Bryan Kessler. We will catch you next week.